Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Happy Monday, everyone. Sports Hounds, 8 to 10. Rob Brakeman, Brad Ryer, Frank Vesby on the ones and twos behind the glass. It's bracket time. Phillies made a big signing. Legal tampering is going on in the NFL. And St. Joseph's head basketball coach, Phil Martelli, will join us to talk brackets right around 8:30. But get right into it, bracket talk. A lot of controversy with this bracket, the selection, the seedings, partly because the bubble was so bad. There wasn't 68 quality teams to put in this bracket, in my opinion. Every team is flawed. St. Mary's has a gripe. Middle Tennessee State has a gripe. I think Nebraska and Notre Dame have gripes. So gripes all around. Get stuff flying in already. Get the Scanzano Sports poll question of the day. Who's in your Final Four? Who's going to cut the nets? A little different tonight. Open-ended question. But, Brad, your first impression of the bracket.
I think pretty much it was fair. I mean, to me, the only team that really had a gripe was Oklahoma State because they beat Oklahoma twice. But
Yeah, but Oklahoma State stinks.
No, I understand that. Their record was okay, but it's not really NCAA
Baylor should have got in before Oklahoma State.
Agreed.
Oklahoma State wasn't good.
Agreed.
I know Oklahoma is in a tailspin, but, you ever hear the expression special players get special treatment?
Yes.
Trae Young is a special player. There's no doubt that Oklahoma's in the tournament because he's a national player of the year candidate.
Haven't they lost like 11
They
out of the last 14
they haven't won a road
like
game in 2018. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. They're flawed. But what they did in November, December, and January, that counts too. That's why Arizona State is in, despite having a losing record in the Pac-12, which I don't think was a very good conference. But I think Villanova, I've been saying it for weeks, I think Villanova is going to cut down the nets. I think they're the best team. I think they have by far the easiest road of all the one seeds to the Final Four. I had them playing Florida in the Elite Eight. You just look at their bracket. I mean, Virginia Tech and Alabama, they're not losing the second round like they did last year. West Virginia doesn't impress me one bit. Wichita State, I think they're going to play them.
They're a pretty good team, but they're not going to
beat Nova.
No.
And then, I mean,
no, I agree with you about
I think St.
Villanova.
Bonaventure wins that playing game. Florida advances.
I don't see anybody beating them.
I got a 2-6 matchup in the East there with Florida and Purdue. I don't see the difference between Florida and Purdue.
Florida can definitely take them down.
So I got some upsets, Cinderella story there, Florida in the Elite Eight, but no one.
I do think Tech will give Villanova a run for their money.
I
don't
do
think
have
they'll
Virginia Tech beating Alabama.
Yeah, I mean I like them
slightly.
over Alabama.
That's going to be a really good game.
Absolutely.
Sean Spellman, Duke is cutting down the nets. I don't know about that. I learned my lesson last year picking these young, one-and-done type teams. Kentucky killed me last year. Duke killed me last year. So I stay away from those. Experience matters in the NCAA tournament. I'm emphasizing that heavy in my bracket this year. James Wilder Wolf, Happy Monday Sports Hounds. Jimmy Wilder. Great follow on Twitter, by the way. Very entertaining, highly entertaining. If you don't follow him already, go ahead. Give him a follow on Facebook. You won't be disappointed. Rock Talk, Troy White, Rock Chalk, baby. That's obviously a reference to Kansas. He obviously likes Kansas.
I don't like Kansas at all. You know what? Every year,
Brad, you're really down on Kansas.
I can't stand that. Every year, that team screws it up in the tournament. As a matter of fact, I think NC State may make a statement this year. I think they're going to get past Kansas.
NC State?
Yep.
Taking down Kansas in
Yep.
Wichita?
Yep. I think NC State is going to be the surprise team.
I think Penn covers the spread against Kansas.
Penn's a good team.
Penn's not a 16 seed. That's an absolute
No,
flat-out
that's
joke.
that was I don't really get that. Sometimes I wonder about how they come up with where these teams are ranked. The Ivy League is not that bad. The Ivy League is a highly competitive league. I mean, it's not. Listen, is it the Big East? No, but I mean, it's a lot better than some of these other mid-major conferences.
And then, I mean, I don't agree with you about Kansas. I have Kansas in my Elite Eight. I have Michigan State winning the Midwest region over Kansas in the regional final. I just don't think, and I don't even think your NC State Wolfpack are going to beat Seton Hall. I like Seton Hall in that game.
Well, again, it's just if you're asking me about a dark horse.
So how far do you have NC State going? Is your bracket completed?
No, but I do like NC State to beat Seton Hall, and I do like them to beat Kansas. I think it comes apart against Clemson in the Sweet 16. As far as that goes, I don't see them going past there.
Clemson stinks. I don't even have. I have New Mexico State.
But I think
making
after
a run in the Midwest.
I think that after they have that glorious win against Kansas, I think that they lose the next game. That those kind of teams don't generally.
So you're talking about Clemson potentially being in your Elite Eight?
Yep.
Good luck to you there. I mean, I've watched Clemson a handful of times. I don't get it.
Clearly, I like Michigan State in that bracket to.
All right, so we're on
to be in the Final Four again. The other stuff as far as that goes, that's just early round stuff. As far as the nuts and bolts, I like Michigan State. I like Villanova.
We're in agreement there. I mean, it sounds like we got a different road for Michigan State.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
I like Virginia to get there.
I hate Virginia. They're so boring.
I understand that, but
I recognize they're a good team.
They're a good defensive. They're a good defensive team. They really are.
I have Virginia as my first one seed losing.
Just for kicks, I think I'm going to go with Gonzaga in the other division. I think Xavier gets knocked out by either Missouri or Florida State. I don't have any faith in them.
I mean, why? Based on what?
Because they can never win big games. Look at every time they played Villanova, they got their asses whooped. When they played against they lost
notoriously in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 every year.
They lost to Providence in the tournament. I don't think they're playing their best basketball right now.
I mean, you might be right.
I just don't. I think I have not. They have not done anything for me to see them as a one seed. I think there are teams that are better than them that are more deserving of the one seed than they are.
Christopher Youngflesh, I'm pulling for Nova. They have an easy draw. 100% agree with you on that one.
Well, you know what? That's what happens when you're the best team.
They're not the number one overall seed.
Right.
Yeah, I understand Virginia's the overall number one seed, but I think that's a mistake. I think that Villanova's better than Virginia.
I agree with you.
I mean, Villanova can play defense, maybe not as well as Virginia can, but Villanova can score and score with. They have Bridges and they have Brunson. Those two guys can light it up. And as far as you watch Villanova play, and maybe Rob, you can back me up on this. I watch them play, and they kind of remind me a little bit of Houston in the NBA. The way they throw those threes. Now, the one variable with Villanova that could happen is if they have a bad shooting night. They could go early.
You say that out the whole field,
you could say,
though.
Exactly. But I mean, just based on. They're such good three-point shooters, and even guys on the bench can hit the three. I just don't see any of these other teams being able to outscore them, and they defend well enough to be able to hold the other teams and outscore them. Are they a great defensive team? No, but they're very good defensively. I think they're good enough. I don't think Virginia could score enough.
Bridges is so good defensively as an on-ball perimeter defender. Any guard that's a problem, he's going to erase. He's going to neutralize them.
That's what I'm saying. They're not a great defensive team the way Virginia is, but they're good enough. They can stop you when they have to stop you.
Michael Bridges is as good of on-ball defender as there is in the entire country.
Okay, well that's what I'm saying though. They're more than good enough to stop you.
I think Chris hit the nail right on the head.
They don't score enough.
By far the easiest road. So maybe they gave Virginia the #1 overall seed, but they gave Villanova the easiest road.
Well,
Villanova covering their bases
Villanova is. I think Villanova is the best team. That's, to the best teams come the spoils. I mean, they still have to go out and win the games, though, Rob.
They do.
It's not gonna be easy. I mean, listen, Virginia
this
Tech.
Is a way better. We'll get Phil Martelli's take. They played Villanova every year. How this stacks up to their championship team and the team that lost to Wisconsin in the second round last year.
Right.
Coming up at 8:30, folks. Phil Martelli, guest caller, talk everything St. Joe, A10, the bubble, St. Joe's moving forward. So stay tuned for that. Phil Martelli.
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I can hear it in your voice.
I'm dealing with a little bit of a head cold right now, but I'm legit excited to hear Phil Martelli on the Sports Sounds on A2D Radio. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, just getting an inside view.
Yeah.
Of somebody who really, I mean, we're fans of the game, but he's a little bit more.
He's been the coach of St. Joe's as long as I can.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more in tune with everything than we are.
Oh yeah.
They've played 5 tournament teams. Last time we talked to them, they were fresh off a tournament loss.
Right.
They won their first game in 2015, the year Nova won the championship. Then they lost to 1-seeded Oregon, which the game was played in Eugene, the stat.
If I remember correctly, they didn't get blasted either.
They did not, no.
They won
right at the buzzer against Cincinnati and put up a fight against a 1-seeded Oregon. That was
when was it?
Loaded team.
When was it that they were in the elite? They were in the Elite Eight. What?
With Jameer Nelson?
2004.
That, yeah.
I remember that
they
tourney.
Lost to Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State had some team that year.
Yeah.
But they almost beat them. That was a fun season.
That was.
But he's always got his team contending and playing hard.
Yeah. I mean,
after January, I'll tell you what. After the turn of the calendar into 2018, his team played some good ball.
They turned it on big time.
They just they got off. They didn't get off to a great start, but boy,
they lost by 3, and then they're in the final of the. They lost Saturday to Rhode Island in the semifinal of the A10. I mean, you're in the championship game. You're right on the doorstep.
I mean, they lost by 3 to them, and they also beat them by 30 in Rhode Island.
78 to 48.
Yeah. I mean, they beat them by
30 points.
They thumped them.
I mean, Rhode Island's a good team. They're the 7th seed in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean they played real well, and they played real well when the calendar turned.
And they played outside of the 3 teams that represent the Atlantic 10, which is a multi-bid league every year, by the way. They have also played Penn and Villanova in their Big 5 their Big 5
and they never duck good teams. They always make sure that they play a couple of real good teams.
And they got some guys. They got some guys coming. They're going to lose some seniors that were productive this year, but Taylor Funk from Lancaster is 6'8", be a sophomore next year. Nick Robinson went off against Rhode Island in the semifinal. He'll be coming back as an upperclassman next year. He'll be a junior.
I'm sure he's got some decent players coming in. He always does. Hopefully next year, if they can get off to a little bit better start, we can see them playing in the postseason. I don't think there's any reason why we can't. That was very, very encouraging to see the way they finished.
Roughly 15 minutes till we talk to Phil Martelli. Scanzano Sports poll question today: who's your Final Four? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the championship? Open-ended poll question. Fire them off. What do you think of the bracket? Who got screwed? Who didn't? Brad, we talked about in show prep. I don't feel bad for anybody on the bubble that didn't get in.
No, because there weren't any.
There is none.
There's
no
one
good
really
enough where I should stand on this table and hoot and holler about this team got screwed by the selection committee.
Nobody
we
really
can talk
got
about
screwed.
We can talk about some of the seeds that I thought were
yeah, one
puzzling.
of the notable snubs. I know we were talking about Oklahoma State. I mean, in over Oklahoma, it's a little bit ridiculous. Another one.
Oklahoma's only in the tournament because they have
Trae Young. They're pimping him out. Basically, that's what they're doing. Same thing with Missouri. They're pimping out Michael Porter Jr., who was gone mostly the season.
Missouri's a tournament team.
They are a tournament team. Had Michael Porter been healthy, I would have taken them as a serious tourney team. But
no, they're not going to do anything.
They're not going to do anything. They're just going to be a blip.
Florida State stinks. How they're in as a 9 seed comfortably, I have no
Yeah, some of
I
these
don't-
seeds.
I don't get it. I don't get. I mean, and you look at Oklahoma State. If you're going to cry about Oklahoma State, cry about
I'm not
Baylor.
really crying
Like I
about
said,
it.
none
I'm
of
just
these
saying.
teams. None of these teams are real. I thought the biggest snub was Notre Dame. I thought Notre Dame should have gotten a bid. Bonzie Colson, they're All-American, missed about half the season with a bad broken foot injury. They were able to keep their head above water. Erased a 21-point deficit in the ACC tournament to Virginia Tech, who is a good team, who is in the tournament. I thought they should have been commended for keeping their head above water without their best player in the ACC, a very good league, and then doing what they were supposed to do when he was in the lineup.
You can make the argument for Baylor too. I mean, they had a pretty good.
They finished 6th in the Big 12, who I don't get it, but other people like the league, and
That's a quality wins.
they have no
And
bad losses.
They beat the daylights out of Kansas, who by the way is a 1 seed.
Mike Parker, Oklahoma has no business though. ESPN paid for that bid. I mean, whatever. I mean,
Well, if you have a superstar, it doesn't hurt.
Oklahoma and Arizona State got into the tournament because
Trey Young and Bobby Hurley. That's basically it.
be that as it may,
Yeah, assuming.
those games I mean, Arizona State beat Xavier by 25.
Oh yeah.
In Xavier, like that doesn't count. I get they were 8-10 in the Pac-12, which isn't good. But that matters too. Oklahoma beat Wichita State on a neutral floor in November or December in one of those holiday tournaments. That counts.
They all count. It used to be that if you were great at the end of the season, that seemed to count a lot more than the beginning of the season. But it seems like now
Would I have liked to have
the
seen
NCAA doesn't do that anymore.
Would I have liked to have seen, the last 10 games of the season be emphasized a little more? Yeah, I do, because I think USC got left out because I don't think the committee thought they were bringing their best team, with Moulton being dismissed, told to go home because he was named in the FBI investigation about recruiting. Brian Wilson, Oklahoma over Oklahoma State is strictly business. They love Trey. Won 4-11 in the last 15 games. No road wins in 2018. I get it. Oklahoma, they're a flawed team, but so is Arizona State. So is Syracuse.
All the teams on the bubble were flawed teams.
Florida State absolutely stinks. Who are some of these other teams that just snuck in? UCLA, how are they?
Yeah.
That was a head scratcher to me. I mean,
Somebody is thinking about John Wooden and just, thinking about the old days in the 60s and 70s there. I wouldn't be surprised if St. Bonaventure beat them.
I would like
to
St.
see
Bonaventure to beat them.
I like
yeah.
the Bonnies in that game.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to see them
Look,
beat them.
St. Bonaventure lost to Davidson in the semifinals of the A10 tournament, but St. Bonaventure is really
They're a
big,
good team.
and they
Yeah.
can really run the floor.
Yeah, and they got two guys who can really score too. So I mean, that's a legitimate team.
Brian Wilson, Oklahoma State non-conference RPA is terrible, 300 plus. That's why they're out, but they're much more deserving than Oklahoma. See,
Oklahoma won more Tier 1 games, though.
I
That's the
don't agree
problem.
with that. Who's more likely to make a run and win a national championship? Oklahoma with Trey Young or Oklahoma State and their band of whoever?
Well, neither one of them. But Trey Young and Oklahoma
For
are
sake
more.
of the argument.
Yeah, I could see the RPI issue. I mean, I'm looking at their
It's
schedule
terrible.
right. It's terrible. You have matchups with Pepperdine, who's been awful. Charlotte, horrible. Oral Roberts, horrible. Houston Baptist, horrible.
You know what?
Mississippi Valley State,
Go out and
horrible.
Go out and play better teams.
Right.
Texas Rio Grande Valley. Like, come on, Oklahoma State.
Frank, would you agree that St. Mary's cost themselves an NCAA bid with their stupid scheduling outside their conference?
Oh yeah.
St. Mary's, I mean,
St. Mary's played three games
I'm
out of
sorry.
conference. Three games out of conference that were
St. Mary's has
good
has
teams.
a good win over New Mexico State, who's a 12 seed in this tournament, who I think is going to do damage. They are
where
in my
they were
Sweet
28
16.
and 5, right?
28-5. It's a hollow 28-5, folks.
Right, because they didn't play any. They only played three first.
They get smoked by BYU in their conference tournament semifinals. They split. I'm sorry, a split with Gonzaga and a win over New Mexico State. That doesn't lock
they're
you in.
they're 2-1.
to
But 2-1 against top tier teams is not enough. You've got to
what
play
top
more
tier
teams.
team?
Well, what I'm saying.
Gonzaga is their only,
Well, they're a better team.
and one
you
of their
know.
losses was to San Francisco. who's
Well,
not good. Bill
the whole-
Russell was not on that
the
team.
whole the whole point is that they needed to be playing better teams. You know, you go
Right.
out, go
and
out
if
and
you
play
know
better
you
teams.
if you know you have a good team, that you got to go out and find those games.
yeah, I mean, you got to call the people and say, hey,
Now, I don't
Let's
think
play.
St. Mary's. I don't think they have the horses to compete with these.
Yeah.
I mean,
had they made
I've
the
wa- I
tournament, I would
watched-
see them as one game out. I mean, it's
yeah,
typical
I mean,
St.
they'd
Mary's
be like
basketball.
A 12, they'd be like a 12 or
Yeah.
13 seed if they made it.
they're going to get outclassed and out athletic by a
By
St.
better
Bonaventure
teams. Yeah.
or an Oklahoma or
Agreed.
Missouri
No,
or
I'm
Florida
I'm just
State.
making a point about them that's a team that went
And then-
28-5, but
It's hollow.
they should have been playing good teams outside their conference.
If Oklahoma played St. Mary's schedule,
they would have been.
they would have had less than 5 losses.
Yeah.
Same with
no doubt.
Syracuse.
No doubt. No doubt.
Which I don't think Syracuse really. I mean, I thought
Yeah, you didn't think they were going to be in the NCAA
I didn't think
tournament.
they did
and
enough
somehow,
at all to be in the tournament. But
yeah, that's just
like
that's
I said,
pedigree.
none of these teams that got left out are. Nothing
Well,
is
Rob,
that egregious to me.
When you look at it, like UConn, how many times did the committee kept putting them in the tournament when they were clearly no longer the UConn of, the UConn with
Probably
Jim
a couple
Calhoun?
times.
Yeah, they got the benefit of the doubt. And that's what happened
Syracuse
with
always
Syracuse.
gets the benefit of the doubt.
Well, yeah, as long as
Always.
yeah, as long as what's his name is still coaching over there,
Brian Wilson, St. Mary's has no business being in. I mean,
I'm
I
not
get
disagreeing
what
with
Bri-
him.
I get
Yeah.
what Brian. But if let's just say they put St. Mary's in instead of Oklahoma, I'm not pounding the table for Oklahoma.
no.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep. No,
It's
you're
not-
right. You're right. Yeah, I'm just stating some
I
teams
mean,
that
Nebraska,
were close,
Nebraska
but,
had 14 wins in the Big Ten. They're not in.
but the Big Ten is not what it was. It's been in
Understood.
the past.
But
I
I think Nebraska's a better team than Florida State. I think Baylor's a better team than Florida State. I think Notre Dame's a better team than Florida State.
Notre Dame is the one team that probably has a legitimate gripe. But again, none of these teams are really that good to be.
I don't
screaming about
understand.
it.
I mean, you guys seem to think Oklahoma State should have gotten in. I don't get it. You can't not schedule anyone and get in. You can't just rely on your conference schedule. And they weren't even that good in their
No.
what were they?
the
It was like
biggest-
the 8-9 game.
The biggest
Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma in the Big Big
biggest
12?
the biggest
Something like
complaint
that?
they would have is that they beat Oklahoma twice. That's all. That was my whole thing with that is that they beat them twice. But I mean, that but that's not enough for Oklahoma State to get in. That could be a reason for Oklahoma maybe to not get in, but not for Oklahoma State
Hughes
to
got
get in.
snubbed last year and was better than this year, so we just got evened up. Yeah, but you can't. That's Brian Wilson again. You can't look at that because, this year's bubble wasn't as strong as last year's bubble. This was a terrible bubble.
No,
terrible.
a bunch of teams.
These last couple teams that got in, I mean,
yeah, they're going to get smoked. So that's basically what's going to end up happening.
and Brian also made another good point. Davidson did steal a bid on Sunday afternoon
They did.
because if they don't win the A10 tournament, they would
Oh,
not
yeah,
have qualified
absolutely.
for an at-large team.
Absolutely.
So you got to think that they stole from Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, Baylor,
yeah.
one of those teams. So
Well, I think Rhode Island just kind of ran out of gas.
right, and Davidson
you
can
know,
score.
St. Joe's definitely took the wind out of them the day before. I mean, St. Joe's could have easily won that game.
I mean, Rhode Island's kind of. I have Oklahoma beating Rhode Island in the first round in that 7-10
Yeah,
game.
I'm not
I think Rhode Island's
totally convinced with them.
I think they're kind of black. I think Oklahoma can out talent them, and Lon Kruger for Oklahoma is a fantastic coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think
So I
think
like Oklahoma in that game.
they
I
have
don't
more.
think-
They have more talent than they have more talent.
and then Davidson is in a 12-5 matchup with Kentucky.
Well, they're going to be gone.
I like Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Despite the
played.
12-5 magic, I know that's a popular upset pick for people filling out their brackets. There's other 12-5s you can pick. Just don't pick that one. I think
Kentucky is a solid team, and
Kentucky
they look real
is
good.
Really good.
They look real
can
good.
Really
They definitely got hot in the SEC tournament. I'm
This
really
is what they do, though.
liking Kentucky.
They have a whole new team every year with a whole new recruiting class, and he's got to groom them, and then they start hitting their peak around this time. Two things about Kentucky. Kentucky can really rebound, and Kentucky can really defend. Whether they can score enough, we'll see. But, I think they're going to play Arizona in the second round. Arizona's a really talented team, but they're not deep at all. They've really only used 5 guys. So if someone gets injured or gets in foul trouble, that's going to be the end of Arizona. So I can't really put any stock in them.
And if they keep it close and the minutes start piling up on these guys,
fatigue.
Right. So they could just outlast them.
And Sean Miller seems to always find a way to.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like teams that go 7 deep. I think when you get teams that go 7 deep,
7, 8 deep. Like
yeah,
Nova,
7 to 8 teams.
Michigan State's deep.
When teams do that, I don't care how good their 5 are. It just seems like, especially the later you get into the tournament, they run out of gas. The legs get a little tired, and the shots start coming up short at the end.
I have Kentucky beating Virginia. Virginia's the first 1 seed I have losing.
That could happen.
Yeah.
It's
possible.
I have Kentucky, and then I have Cincinnati over Kentucky in the South.
I mean, I just think
I think Cincinnati's
I think Virginia
for real this
can.
year.
I think Virginia can force their will defensively on some of these teams.
Yeah, but Kentucky's going to force that will right back. They're a very good defensive team too. Are they Virginia? No.
No, I mean, but the thing is though, Virginia. If they have they faced Virginia this year? Did they play them? I mean, Virginia's also tough to play if you haven't faced them either, because with that defense, and that's something to get them out to an early lead against a team like Kentucky, and then Kentucky will be trying to chase the game, and that could be a problem against a real good defensive team.
And I think Cincinnati figures it out this year. This is not the 46-42
with 3 minutes to go in the game.
3 minutes to go in the game. Cincinnati team. This team is athletic, long, experienced. They put up 85 a game. They let up 57, I think it was, less than 60. And you look at their road at the bottom of the South region here. My Nevada Wolfpack, they're going to play Texas in the 7-10. I like Nevada in that game. I've been talking about Nevada for.
You've been touting them a lot for a while now.
Boy, but they got worked by San Diego State in their semifinal game in their conference tournament. They were down by 30 at half. It was a complete disaster. I don't think Nevada can beat Cincinnati. Then I have Loyola Chicago making a run to the Sweet 16.
I like Loyola Chicago. I really like
They're
them.
an 11 seed. I believe they're 1-point favorites against Miami in that game. Total Loyola Chicago line. That's my 11 seed getting it done to the Sweet 16. Then they won't be good enough to beat Cincinnati. But, yeah, I have Cincinnati as my runner-up to Villanova. So,
Rob, now I know this probably isn't a game you'll even be watching, but for some of us New York fans, the Blackbirds from LIU, do you know anything about this game against Radford?
No, the play-in?
Yes.
No, I mean, who cares? They're going to get smoked by. So we're gonna have Phil Martelli on here in just a few minutes. Timothy Floria, Florida Elite 8. I have Florida in my Elite 8 as well. It's a good pick. Brian Wilson, DeAndre Ayton is the best player in college. Can't disagree there. I think he should have been a 3 seed. Maybe. They only use 5 guys. All right, let's welcome him in. Frank is setting up the feed right now.
And
Coach, do we have you?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Coach Phil Martelli of the St. Joseph Soft, Rob Brinkman, Brad Ryder Sports Hounds. Thanks for a few minutes, Coach. I know it was a tough weekend with your season ending. We certainly appreciate that. But let's talk a little St. Joe's. 2018 was very prosperous for you guys. Can you pinpoint what happened with your team's turnaround? You were playing really good basketball coming down the stretch here.
I think that a couple of things happened. One, Shavar Newkirk, who was an all-league player, finally was completely healthy. Then unfortunately got hurt at the end of the Rhode Island semifinal game. I think that was a big key that he got to be healthy. And I think that we changed the way that we practice. We've always believed in being efficient in practice, but we were also mindful of resting guys and doing a little bit more mental work with a lot more film than we normally would. So I think those two things combined, and we went out and won our next game. You know, we got embarrassed at Davidson, and we came back and played our next game, and that to me was a win against UMass, which I think made the players a little bit more comfortable. They didn't feel like the world was falling. So those would be my keys. And the players deserve the credit, and we're obviously still disappointed that we didn't go a little bit further. But even in that game against Rhode Island on Saturday, we did have some injuries and may not have been able to field the full team on Sunday if we were in the championship.
Hey, Coach, you know, you guys did give them a heck of a fight, and we can't forget the fact that you guys went there and beat them by 30 points. What exactly happened in that game that you guys were able to beat them up like that? Because that's a real impressive win.
They just didn't make shots. We played well, but we didn't play great. We had 16 turnovers against them up there. We gave them 16 offensive rebounds. Those rebounds came back to haunt us in the semifinals of the league. But I really think that the combination of the emotion of senior day for them and the fact that the ball didn't go in the basket for them, I was very impressed by the demeanor of my team that night, and it propelled us into a great win that weekend against LaSalle, and then the double bye, which was important for us.
Coach, I want to talk to you about the A-10 as a whole, really mid-majors as a whole. Obviously, Selection Sunday, some teams it goes well for, other teams it doesn't. It seems like the mid-majors, the Middle Tennessee States with Kermit Davis as their coach, griping, Randy Bennett for St. Mary's, griping as well, complaining that it is almost – the deck is really stacked against mid-major teams getting at-large bids. Is that something you agree with as a fellow mid-major from a non-power conference?
To me, here's what's happened. Basically, they've hijacked the tournament. They really don't want the non-Power 5 teams in there. They just can't sell that to the American public. They can't sell it to their TV partners. But they have clearly hijacked the tournament. It's been going on for a couple of years. They've created moving targets. For instance, now the big word is body of work. You're being rewarded for your body of work. So I would have a question. Oklahoma won 2 games in January and February, none of them away from home. So what body of work was Oklahoma being rewarded for? Arizona State finished 9th in their league, 8-10 in their league, and lost in the first round of their tournament. So what was their body of work? Going back to November, December? They've moved the target, but I will say this. For the Power 5 conferences, several years ago, the Atlantic 10 got 5, and the Missouri Valley had Wichita State, and they got a couple. And I believe that they got together, they got analytical people involved, and they've come up with a mathematical formula that is hard to beat. And when the computer spits out a number and says team 62 should be this number, that number will always equate to a Power 5. I have never, ever understood how a team gets credit for the league that they're in. You still have to be a significant team in that league. And I'll say it quietly and reluctantly, I just don't think it's coming back. I think that they've hijacked this tournament, and they're going to run it exactly the way they want it.
Do you see a solution? What can a mid-major such as yourself, such as a St. Mary's, a Rhode Island, take your pick around the league, the non-Power 5 schools? Is there a way they can beat? Because this analytics system, these KenPom rankings, these
No.
analytics?
No,
Nothing
because
at
you
all.
have to be in a league. You have to be in a league that is heavy, and our leagues are just not built that way. We're going to have it. We're going to have a significant bottom of our league. It's just the way it is. So they figured it, they beat it, and the only solution that I see is your top teams are going to have to take a chance. Your top teams are going to have to take scheduling chances. We're going to have to get in these multiple team events where we can get these teams on neutral court. But I think we can jump up and down, and Randy Bennett can say what he wants, and Kermit Davis. And 2 years ago when St. Bonaventure got left out, I was very mouthy about it.
I believe we interviewed you that day.
Yeah, I think we did.
They just don't care. I've actually would say to that committee, you know what? Quit hiding behind selection shows, which was a bizarre show last night.
That it was. Yes.
Rather than sit there and pat yourself on the back and how well you did. How about if one of those guys had to walk into the locker room last night at Middle Tennessee State, or had to walk into the locker room at St. Mary's, and just explain to those guys, just on an intellectual level, explain to these kids whose dream is to play in the NCAA tournament. I'm not angry. I am resigned, and my only solution is to build a team and ask the other teams in our league to build a team that they just can't turn their back on. They nearly turned their back on St. Bonaventure. 27 wins.
That's a good
27
team, too.
wins. And, they send them – they announce on Sunday that you're in the tournament. And, by the way, be in Dayton by Tuesday. I don't know.
That's
I am
rough.
disappointed.
I hear you on that.
And college basketball needed a clear boost, and we're going to still need a boost in this tournament because of all that has gone on all winter long and starting in the fall. But that selection committee, I think they have to stop moving the target, and they have to come up with some standards, and they have to stick to those standards. If you're not 500 in your league, I don't care how good your league is, you're done. You're off.
I agree with that. Coach, going to next year, okay, we have to be very optimistic about how you guys finished. Can you tell us who's going to be leaving and who's coming in, and what your thoughts are on possibly next year's squad?
Well, James Demery and Shavar Newkirk, both who made All-League, will, they'll move they'll move on, hopefully graduate in May and play professional basketball beyond that. And coming in right now, we have a young man, Jared Bynum, who is a sub-6-foot guard from Georgetown Prep. He's a magnificent point guard, a really strong individual. He's a guy that's always going to be in the gym. And you have to count Fresh Kimball as a new player because he's been out for a year and a half, and Charlie Brown missed the whole year. So those three guys will be rotation guys to join the likes of Taylor Funk and Anthony Longpree and Checo Oliva and Nick Robinson, Chris Clover. So I'm anxious for them to be home right now, spring break, and then when we get back next Saturday and Sunday, let's start to get back to full health and a situation where we're going to be in very competitive games right out of the box, just in our own city. We're going to be playing NCAA teams like Villanova and Penn, and we're going to Princeton, and we have a great tournament in Puerto Rico if that's where it ends up being held. But that tournament has 6 NCAA teams. So
that sounds exciting.
I'm anxious, and yesterday and today have been long days, and with disappointments because you see all the excitement around college basketball, and basically the players generated that same excitement around our program for the last month.
Last thing before we let you go, you play Villanova every year, kind of a friendly, bitter rivalry, so to speak. How good is this Villanova team? Like I said, you play them every year. How does this stack up with the team that won it in 2015? And then obviously last year they got upset in the second round by Wisconsin.
Yes, somebody asked me about that. I don't. I think that the comment that Villanova that I would make is Jalen Brunson is the player of the year in college basketball. He should win every award, every single award. But Villanova is so good that the national player of the year is the second best player on his own team. Mikal Bridges over the last 12 games is averaging over 20 points a game, shooting over 50% from three, over 50% from two. He's working himself up into a, teens pick in the NBA draft, and even the two of them might not be the most indispensable player that they have. That might be Phil Booth or Dante DiVincenzo. They have a way of playing when a lot of teams out there don't have a way of playing. If you had a fuzzy TV, you weren't getting great reception, and if Villanova was on, through the fuzz, you would be able to tell that was Villanova because they play the same way every single possession. And I think that their path is not easy. Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Purdue, all those teams are different. And I just don't want them to hit a cold shooting night. I want them to go out blazing and shooting their threes. They shoot the second highest percentage of twos in the whole country, I think, behind Gonzaga, or they might be one. Gonzaga's two. It's a magnificent story. It's a honor to compete against them, and a privilege to call Jay Wright my friend.
Well, Coach, thanks a lot for hopping on for a few minutes with bracket time. Exciting time in college basketball, and hopefully we'll be talking about St. Joe's in the NCAA Tournament this time next year. Thanks a lot again.
I certainly hope so. Thanks for including me.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, no problem. Phil Martelli, the head coach. Great stuff there, all the way around.
Yeah, he's always very entertaining, and he doesn't hold back.
I wrote it down here. The selection selection committee has hijacked college basketball.
Yes.
A moving target. One thing, a few things he said that really jumped out at me. These playing games, it's a bunch of bull because they get picked on Sunday, they go to Dayton on Tuesday, and then they got to play in Orlando or Greensboro somewhere on North Carolina. So, yeah, cool, you got in, but the deck's stacked against you.
And it's stacked.
I'd
to
be
a point
interested
where
to look
it's
up.
So
Maybe
unfair.
Frank can look it up when we take a break or something. What's the furthest a playing game winner has ever advanced?
I would have to say the Final Four, the playing games. If you counted the first four games, I think Wichita State, they made it all the way to the Final Four.
Went to the Final Four as a playing game.
Yep, as an 11 seed. Yep,
That's really.
I
hard
remember
to
them
do.
being an 11 seed.
it was a playing
Was
game.
it a playing game?
It was a
It
playing
was
game.
against USC, I believe.
Wow.
That's interesting, guys.
Well,
I
I
would,
mean, you
I
could
would
see-
not have guessed that at all.
You could see an 11 seed doing that, though.
And-
That's not impossible. But
No,
some
I
of
got
the,
you.
but you
it's
see
not.
like a 16,
I'm
like
surprised at that, though.
LIU and
I don't want to say
Radnor,
Frank's
I mean,
got spreading fake news around, but I do want to check that during the break. But another thing he said, the moving target. Now it's body of work, strength of schedule, it's RPI. You got this KenPom analytics stuff. Phil Martelli did not seem like a subscriber of the analytics portion of basketball.
You think?
Yeah, I don't think he likes.
I mean,
I don't think he likes
you know,
it that much. I don't wanna
he's great
speak for
because
Phil
he's
Martelli.
not. He's great because you know what? One thing about the coach, he doesn't sit there. He doesn't play politics. He will tell you exactly what he thinks, and that's why he's a great interview. And at least you guys all got to hear how a mid-major team how they feel about how the
I asked him point blank, can a mid-major team overcome how they
and he
stack
said
teams
no.
based on these analytics? Flat no.
And he's right.
He's right. I wish he had an idea to make it better because I think he's a smart basketball mind, and I think if anyone could fix it, brains like his can.
Oh yeah.
Not Ken.
I'll tell you what,
not
I'm
Ken
pretty-
Pom or these nerds that sit in the room and they take a shot at CBS too at that ridiculous selection show. That was awful.
That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like as soon as I turned in like the first 5 minutes of it, I'm like, I'm like, what the hell am I watching? Am I watching like a foreign film? Because the sync was the audio was so bad. Like I thought I was gonna wait for like Kung Fu.
Where was it? Radio City Music Hall?
Yeah, it was in Radio City Music
It was
Hall.
really
It was on
poorly
TBS.
done.
It was poorly done. I mean,
Be that as it may, cool. They had it in Radio City. I know they do the draft there. There's precedent for that at least. But how about the way the at-large, they read them off in alphabetical order.
yeah.
Takes all the suspense. The only suspense is, oh, here we go. We're getting in. Oh, the L's are done. Louisville, you're out. Like, what? What? I didn't like it at all. Then Ohio State gets named, and then you find out Notre Dame's out. Like, okay.
Right.
I mean, if I mean, that's a big fan base.
Disappointed a lot of people there.
How many people are huge Notre Dame fans that just said, "Oh, well, they just told me they're not in the first 5 minutes. I'm
out of here.
gonna go to the movies or something." Like,
Yeah, that was. I mean, whoever made up whoever wrote up the story, the show, and basically to summarize it and do everything that they had to do, the show outline, it was poorly done.
but I think that's a compliment.
Yeah, it was poorly done. You can't. The way they did it, they had half the people turning off their TV after the first 10 minutes. I mean,
I just turn it off after they reveal the bracket because I'm like, I want to see who got what, who got what seed, and
well, listen. At least
was
Western
ridiculous.
Kentucky got the
Right.
get to the NIT.
I'll take the NIT. I'll take the NIT over
That's
no
right.
bid.
Yeah, exactly.
And then how about Penn State will be hosting Temple in the first round of the NIT.
That's going to be a very, very interesting
Game.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Might even tune into that one.
Yeah, because I was going to say, Penn State and Temple on the basketball court are a little more evenly matched than they are on the football field, so that should be a lot of fun. If anything, maybe Temple can knock them off.
It's going to be a good game.
It will be. I think that's a very good game. Too bad you don't get to see them in the NCAAs, but I mean that'll be a very interesting game.
Just resetting some of the Facebook comments here. Rob Povey, I got Zona, but then again, I'm clueless. I mean, it's as good a pick as any. I don't think they're deep. I can't pick a team that's 5 deep. I just can't do it.
And I got Timmy Singleton thinking Virginia's going to win it all. Timmy, they play great defense. I just wonder about in a big spot, in a close game going back and forth, who's going to be the go-to guy and who's going to make that big shot. That's the only problem. I mean, they do rely a lot on their defense in the transition game to score. Are they going to be able to force a lot of turnovers against top quality teams? Be able to do that? I mean, that's the question, really. Is when you get to the top level, I think they'll be able to handle the first couple of games, but after that, it's going to be interesting to see in a close game how that team operates against top competition. And they're certainly not. I think Villanova is better than they are. I mean, Coach Martelli basically was telling everybody that he thinks Villanova is the best team in the country.
In so many ways.
In so many words. He didn't come out and say it. That's not a direct quote, but in so many words, he's kind of telling you.
He sounded impressed.
All right, I actually found out the first 4 thing. It wasn't Wichita State. It was VCU in 2011.
And they went to the Final Four.
Went all the way to the Final Four. The coming out party of Shaka Smart and the Havoc defense.
All the way to the final. That's
all the way to the
that's
Final Four.
That's quite a feat with how they stacked.
That's impressive.
Remember when they stacked it against the mid-major? So they probably went Tuesday, Thursday, traveling.
Yeah.
And then had to play a 6, a 3, and probably a 2 or a 1 to get to the Final Four.
Let me find VCU's bracket from
Something
that
like
year.
that. I mean,
the
way it should be.
Extremely impressive.
The way it should be, though, is they should be these playing games. They should be going to wherever the rest of the tournament
Right, they shouldn't have to
is.
travel.
VCU
extra.
beat a
Yeah,
6,
that's
a
not-
3,
that's
a
just-
10, and a 1 to go
mean,
to the Final Four.
I know they're
Not
young
bad.
kids. I know they're young kids, and they got plenty of energy, but that's not fair.
Another thing that Phil Martelli said, if you're not at least 500 in your league, see you later.
Oh,
you're
we've
not in
been
consideration.
harping. I've been harping about that
that's
forever.
That's a great criteria.
Oh, it is. It is.
Because
He was 500. They were 500 in their league.
They were above 500.
They were actually 11
They were
and
16
7.
and 16 overall.
Yeah,
because
they were
didn't
11 and 7, but they had a pretty tough.
They didn't start well.
No, and they didn't. But they did. They played some good teams outside their conference. I mean, they played Villanova. That's not an easy game.
No, they get beat. I mean,
Yeah, I mean they got
who's who of.
Yeah, I mean,
And I 100% agree with him that Jalen Brunson should be the player of the year. All due
Probably.
respect to DeAndre Ayton, all due respect to Trae Young, Jalen Brunson does. There's nothing he can't do.
is he a lottery selection? You think?
Brunson?
Yeah.
He might sneak into the first round. Mikal Bridges, he'll certainly be a top 10 pick, especially if he has a good tournament.
I think he might look good in blue and orange.
Oh,
Bridges.
Bridges.
I think so.
With the way he plays defense on the ball, he'd look good in pretty much any uniform in the whole
Well,
league.
tell you what, then he'd be the only one on the team that actually would do that.
I'll have to look because I think Brunson can come back next year. I believe he's a junior.
I'll tell you what, if he's a lottery if he's being told he's a lottery selection, he'll be gone after this year. But we'll see.
He hasn't been on the mock. I mean, who knows? But
Yeah, it's hard to say. A lot of these guys stay in Villanova, though. The one thing about Jay Wright is his guys usually stay for the duration. That's just one more thing you got to give him a ton of credit for is that his guys usually close it out. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, he's Jalen Brunson, 6'3", 190, junior from just outside Chicago. So, I mean, he could come back. 6'3", 190, that's a beefy point guard.
Yeah.
I can't whether he's a lottery pick or not, that'll work itself out, I guess.
Well,
but
he can shoot.
he's
and
definitely a pro.
He can shoot in that. You know what? That's a major part of the game with point guards because a lot of point guards can direct the offense, but they're really not great shooters. That helps quite a bit.
They have a loaded. Villanova is absolutely loaded.
Yeah,
They're
I
loaded.
think.
Demario Cowsby Roundtree, 6'9", 220 coming into his own. Philly kid from Newman. Amari Spellman's a redshirt freshman. He's 6'9", 250.
Timmy Singleton wants to know who we have winning and how far does North Carolina go. Both Rob and I are in agreement about Villanova. North Carolina, I think they could get to the Elite Eight. I wouldn't be surprised if they got. I don't think it goes. It goes.
I have North Carolina in my Final Four.
Yeah, I think they get to the 8.
I think that they're better than Xavier.
I agree with that. I don't like Xavier.
I have them playing Houston. I have Houston beating Michigan down there in the West in the second round. That could be an interesting game, North Carolina Houston. I think Houston matches up well with them, but I think North Carolina is just a better version of Houston.
Well, they're big and physical like they were last year.
I
just wonder if they could score enough, though.
And then you might be onto something with Gonzaga there, but I like Xavier. I think that they have a good body of work. I think they're deserving of a 1 seed, and I like to see them do well. So I have them in the Elite Eights, North Carolina over Xavier there in the West, and then I have Nova winning it all. I think it's pretty easy, honestly. I think Brad said it, Phil Martelli said it, now I'm going to say it. The only way they lose is if they don't make shots. I don't think they're going to be in a situation where they're outclassed by superior big men. Number one, because no one in their region has a superior big man. The only team that potentially has a game-changing big man like that is Purdue. If they play Purdue, it won't be till the Elite Eight. So
let's be honest, though. If they hit their shots, they're going to win. They're going to win the tournament.
But I mean, look at these names. Look at these names, though. I mean, you got Brunson, you got Pascal, you got Booth, DiFrancesca, Gillespie, Bridges.
Yeah,
all these guys are going to have a bad night at once.
No, that's the whole point
Right.
is with them is that they're not going to face fatigue because they've got a bench. They can go 7, 8 deep, and that to me does matter, especially late in the fourth quarter, because they're going to be these guys are going to be rested. and they'll have a little extra pep in their step. And I think that I think it does matter, and I think it's not just a regular season thing. I think it is with the tournament because remember these teams are playing, basically 2 games in 3 days. And the second game they can get tired, and I don't think that'll happen with
they're too deep.
Villanova. Exactly, and that I think that matters. I think that matters a lot more than some people think. I think there's something to be said about that, especially when they got guys that can come off the bench and light it up.
Brian Wilson, Virginia has more scoring than the last few years and always brings arguably the toughest D in the country. They
That's
finally
true.
get over the hump and get Tony Bennett a Final Four. Hey, they might.
Listen, if they can force their will,
I
defensively, they can beat just about anybody. I just don't think they can outscore Villanova. I see Villanova like the Houston Rockets in the NBA. They just beat you because they make so many threes.
Virginia was tabbed by the selection committee as the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. Number 1 seed in the tournament rarely wins, if ever. Obviously it has happened, but usually it doesn't happen. Number 1 overall seed. I never picked the number 1 overall seed. That's why I have Virginia as the first 1 seed losing. Now I led the show how I'm going with experience, and then I have basically a one-and-done Kentucky team being number 1 overall seed.
Well, you were beating up Duke for that reason, and then you like Kentucky, but, Duke also had the injury to the point guard, right?
Right, but I don't have Kentucky in my Final Four.
No. I
Like
hear
I
you
had
there.
Duke and Kentucky in my Final Four last year. Now, Kentucky they lost in the Elite Eight to one of the best games I've ever seen to North Carolina. Buzzer beater after buzzer beater in that one, but I don't like the one-and-dones. This year, we could see a 10 seed, an 11 seed. We'd see some goofy stuff happen here in this tournament. Because, like I said, I don't think there's that many premier teams. There's certainly no clear-cut favorite.
There's no, UNLVs from the 90s in this tournament.
Or Leitner's Dukies or Anthony Davis's Kentucky.
No.
Or anything like that.
No, it's not wide open, but there are probably 6 or 7 teams that can win this tournament.
So, Brad, do you have a Final Four formulated yet before we go to break? Because we got some stuff to talk about after the break too. It's wild sports day.
Yes. Hang on. I think I gave that to you, and let me get it up again.
So just to reiterate, I have Villanova in the East. I have Michigan State in the Midwest. I have North Carolina in the West. And I have Cincinnati in the South. And I have Villanova beating Cincinnati in the final.
Okay, I am going to go with Virginia, Gonzaga. Let's see as we move over here.
You have Nova. I'm assuming you have Nova.
Yeah, Villanova.
In the East.
And what's it over here?
Well, you got Kansas losing early. You said that
right.
earlier.
I am going to go with Duke.
With Duke.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think Michigan State is going to play Duke in the Sweet 16. I think the winner of that will go to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think Duke is going to find a way to win. Because by the time they play Michigan State, I think the guy will probably be ready to play again. They're good enough to win. They're good enough to beat Rhode Island or Oklahoma.
I have
or
Oklahoma
Iona.
win that game, but I mean they're just going to be dog meat for Duke. Whoever wins that game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
so-
Michigan State's playing Bucknell, and then they play. I think they're going to play either.
Well, TCU will probably give them a run for their money, but they're not going to beat them though. TCU will be good. We'll hang in there for the first half, but
We'll
then
see. We'll
they'll
touch
fall
back
apart.
on the bracket after the break, but my boy Matt Klintak, he made a move
Oh,
finally.
Now he's your boy. Now he's his
No,
boy.
he's not my boy. He'll never be my boy. I think he's an absolutely fucking horrible GM still. But and then legal tampering is going on in the NFL, so we'll get to that.
Yes, it is.
Sports Hounds with you till 10 o'clock. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Final hour coming at you. Rob Brinkman, Brad Ryer, Sports Hounds, Frank Vesby on the ones and twos. BMW of Atlantic City Studios. This segment brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC. It's tax season. Certified accountants. Get all your taxes done. GibsonMayer.com. Scanzano Sports poll question. Who is your Final Four? Who is going to win it all? Open-ended poll question night. But Brad, the Phillies, Matt Klintak, I guess he drank a couple cups of coffee, decided to turn on his cell phone, maybe got more minutes on his prepaid burner.
I think he finally
They go out, they get Jake Arrieta.
I think he finally got tired of getting beat up by everybody.
I was extremely hard on Matt Klintak, and he still fucking stinks. The Phillies, they're not a play. All these Philly fans out there that think that the Phillies are going to be the second wild card in the National League, I mean, no.
They're not better than the Rockies or they're not better than the Rockies or the Diamondbacks.
I don't know if they're better than the Mets.
I don't know that they're better than the Mets either. I mean, do you think that Arrieta is better than DeGrom? Because I don't.
No, DeGrom is
a
fucking stud.
Yeah, and I don't think
me?
I don't think Nola's better. Not that Nola's a bad pitcher, but he's not better than Syndergaard.
No. Not at all.
And the bottom of the Mets rotation is probably, even though it's not great, it's probably better than the Phillies.
Now you have two stars. They still need another pitcher. I don't know what is going on with Alex Cobb, but Lance Lynn goes for 1 year,
I can tell you,
$12 million.
Alex Cobb the Yankees are out on Alex Cobb, so I don't know where he goes from here.
I read Baltimore.
Yeah, I've read
earlier.
Baltimore too.
That could happen.
That would make the most
Why
sense.
can't you get him too? There's no way. If Lance Lynn's getting 1 year, $12 million.
Yeah, but I mean, Cobb is a good pitcher.
Lance Lynn's okay.
Lance Lynn's okay, but let's be honest, Rob. If he went to the American League, he'd get his brains beat in.
Lance Lynn did go to the American League. He can be on the Twins next year.
He's going to be on the Twins. He's going to get his brains beat in. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of Lance Lynn in the American League. I think him in the American League is not a good bet. I think Alex Cobb has already proven that he's pitched in the American League East against some of the best hitting teams in baseball, and he's been able to prove himself. I think he's a better bet, to be honest with you. I mean, I would have if I had my choice of him or Arrieta. To be honest with you, I think I may have gone with him. But you know, the thing is with the Phillies,
right?
They can get out of this deal after 2 years if they want to, so it's not a bad deal.
It's probably going to be the way I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're better with all this luxury tax payroll stuff than I am. It's in essence a 3-year, $75 million deal.
Yeah, well, basically, here's what happens. After 2 years, if the Phillies pick up his option, they can keep him for 3 more years, making it a 5-year contract. After year 3, if Jake Arrieta wants to, he can opt out and be a free agent. And the first 3 years are going to be for $75 million.
So basically, it's a 2-year deal because I don't see the Phillies picking up that option.
Well, I'll tell you what. If he's pitching real well, they might. But again, they don't have to. That's the beauty of the deal for the Phillies. The Phillies have plenty of money to spend. They were I think their payroll was like $98 million.
It's a joke.
I mean,
it's an absolute joke.
I mean, they have plenty of money to spend. They're nowhere near the luxury tax cap, so there was no reason for them not to go out and make a move and bring in another pitcher.
And Matt Klintak, he was really cooking this week because he also designated stinky Tommy Joseph for assignment. Thank God I don't have to watch that guy for 162 games this year.
Does he have any value, do you think?
No.
Can he hit at all? No? Okay.
No,
I'm just wondering, like, is he somebody the Yankees should be looking at as a right-handed bat for no?
No.
Neil Walker is a better hitter than
Correct.
him. Okay.
I'm a better hitter.
Okay. Never mind then.
Tommy Joseph.
Okay.
I mean, he was supposed to be a catcher coming up, but he got too many concussions. Came over in the Hunter Pence deal. converted first baseman. It's just
Well, you have Santana and
Such an-
Rhys Hoskins, so you don't need him.
such
that's
an
for sure.
average, so average.
Well,
Slightly better than Darren Ruff, if you remember him on the Phillies.
yeah, he wasn't good either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tommy Joe. So Matt Clinton, get the ball rolling here,
It's about time.
earning his money. It
they
took him
needed to
till
do-
March.
They needed.
Maybe he was snowed in or something over the decided
I
to
don't know,
get
you know.
cooking.
It's almost like somebody somebody like rang the bell.
Between
wake 'em up.
75 and 80 wins, I see for the Phillies now with Arrieta in the mix.
I think they could go 81-81. I think they're a 500 team now.
A lot of things would still have to go right.
Well, here's the question, okay? After Arrieta and Nola, okay, then you have 3 other pitchers.
Right.
Are they just going to destroy your bullpen so that your bullpen's going to be
Correct.
worn out by
That's
the
correct.
middle of June?
That's correct. That's how
'Cause
I
if
see the
that's-
season playing out.
If that's what happens,
Because look, Vince Velasquez is going to be slotted in the 3rd slot. Vince Velasquez is a closer. He's a bullpen guy.
Vince Velasquez
He's a
gives
thrower. He's not a pitcher.
He
He's going to
gives
get
you-
hurt.
he
I
gives you
hope they
one
move him
outing,
to the-
one good outing every 3 outings.
Right. And then
So
Jared Eichhoff, who hasn't impressed me one bit. He's the 4 starter.
And
That's
then
better than having him as the 3 starter.
yeah, and then who's the 5th one? Lively or
Then you got Lively, you got Jake Thompson, a bunch of trash. Bunch of guys. Jake Thompson, I mean, I think he had a 6 ERA last year with a 1.5 whip. Just
So.
not good. I mean, honestly, I would like to see Pivetta get a chance as the 5th starter, but you know, they don't. The Phillies don't ask me.
Yeah, the problem is these 2 guys at the front end are going to be good.
They're going to have to score a lot of runs
right
to be able to go 81 and 81.
The problem is
I'm
these
not going to say it's impossible for them to go 81
these starters,
and 81.
but these 3 through 5 starters have got to give them innings because if their bullpen's worn out by the middle of June, which is what's going to happen if these guys don't, if the only ones who are throwing strong games are are Arrieta and Nola, there's going to be a big problem with their bullpen. So, that's what happened last year. I mean, the Phillies bullpen last year was not bad to start the season, but they wore down, and that's what happens if you have to go to the same guys so often all the time. You have to get innings out of your starters.
Right,
Now,
and I believe the Phillies were 38 and 37 post All-Star break last year. Problem was they were done. They were out of it because they had such a bad start.
but there was no pressure on them.
Right, and Herrera started playing good after a horrendous start, and Hoskins came up and took the whole National League by storm.
Hoskins definitely provided a spark, but the bullpen really gave up. The bullpen gave up a lot of games, especially in June. I mean, I can specifically remember a few games against the Nationals where they came in and every game it seemed like they had the lead going in late, and the Nationals would beat them and would beat up their bullpen.
Yeah, they get especially after you use the bullpen for extended innings.
Well,
Your
that's
second,
what,
third day in a row. You come in, it's batting practice, man.
right, and they weren't. This was before Hoskins came up. They didn't have the offense to be able to, to counteract this stuff.
Like-
Now, they had a little more offense in the second half. I mean, Hoskins was such a spark for that team. I mean,
He
between
was unreal. But he's
Yeah.
not hitting 317 or whatever he hit last year over
Well,
162
let me
game
ask you a
season.
question, and let's be honest as far as home runs are concerned. Over under for Hoskins and Santana, 50 home runs.
That's an appropriate over under.
Okay, you think that's a good over under? Because I think if they're gonna
Hopefully
be
Hoskins can get the 30 and make it a little easier for Santana. Santana's on this team because he can draw a walk. He
yeah, but Santana also has
can draw
power.
a walk.
He has power all over the field. He can hit home runs to any part of the ballpark. He also can be your backup catcher, which is really nice because every once in a while you can,
I don't want Carlos Santana catching.
yeah, but you know what? You can put him out there every once in a while and put
I
Hoskins
don't want that at all.
and put Hoskins at first base
No.
and do that.
3
every
years,
once in a while.
$20 million. He's not catching.
He
It's
can,
bad
though.
enough. It's
But he
bad enough.
can.
It's bad enough he can't DH.
Well, no, but I'm just saying he.
I understand he can, but they have Alfaro.
Okay. No, I'm just
And
making a point that
Cameron Rupp's still on the team too. So
he can once in a while.
He's an adequate backup catcher.
But late in the game, if you have to make some defensive changes, you can do that. I mean,
3 years.
It helps to have.
You don't have
the
to do that when
versatility.
you have Alfaro behind the plate. He's a tremendous defensive catcher.
Okay.
We'll see what he is with the bat.
Can he hit?
We'll see.
Okay.
But he's deserving to be on
And
the
most
field
most catchers don't hit though. So I mean,
based on his ability to potentially shut down a running game, to call a game, and potentially be an okay stick. He should definitely be. You're not taking him out for defensive purposes ever. At least I'm not. We'll see with this Chip Kelly wannabe, Gabe Kapler, another guy who's got me absolutely nervous as hell for this season. It's the same thing, is it not?
You gotta at least give him a few games before.
No, I don't have to give him anything because I see the signs already. This guy wants to
reinvent the wheel.
All his rhetoric, it's just scary. We got to get all the guys pulling the rope in the same direction. We got to get this and that,
boy.
And culture and this and that. Sounds a lot like Chip Kelly, sports science, analytics.
Well, you know that your GM is very highly into analytics. So.
I'm aware.
Yeah, he's that's.
I don't know if you've gathered this over the past month, Brad, but I'm not a Matt Klentak fan.
No, I kind of gathered.
I don't know
that,
who hates him more, old friend Ray Maffo or me.
Oh yeah, Ray is not happy with.
Ray hates him.
Yeah, I know he does.
I hate him
listen,
too, though.
I hate him, and I'm not even a Philly fan. I just hate the fact that you've got all this money and you're not, and you know that your company who owns the team won't care if you spend a few bucks to go out and make the team better. I mean, with the fact that they got Jake Arrieta, they'll probably sell more tickets now. You know what? Yeah, your team will be pretty good now.
I wasn't interested in going to any Phillies games this year, but now I'll show up. I'm always going to watch them just because I'm a Phillies fan and I'm a baseball guy.
Well, you might show up when Arrieta's pitching or when Nola's pitching. You have a pretty doggone good chance to win those games.
I'll show up when Jake Thompson's pitching. Bet the over.
Yeah, well,
that's my game. That's my scheme.
I gotcha. Well, yeah.
But I mean, your Yankees signed Neil Walker. That's a.
I like Neil Walker. You know what? A
Clearly
lot of
they're
people are sitting saying, "Whoa, Neil Walker hit 23 home runs 2 years ago." Now I know last year he hurt his back and he didn't play all that much. Well, he's 32, but keep in mind this is not the long-term answer for the Yankees at second base.
No.
Neil Walker's going to play until Gleyber Torres is ready, and then they don't have to rush him. And when Gleyber Torres is ready and healthy and gets his swing back, then he's going to be up playing second base for the New York Yankees. And I think Brandon Drury at third, I think the same thing is going to be going on with Andujar. When Andujar shows them in the minor league level that he can field better than the way he's been fielding at the major league level, he'll be up here.
I mean, they don't need all-stars at those two positions.
You don't have to have all-stars at every position. No team needs that.
No, but the way the
Yankees
are constructed, second base and third base, they're
look. Neil Walker will.
They can afford to have a guy who's just not going to screw things up.
Look, Brandon Drury, I'm sure can hit 260, 270, and could probably hit between 15 and 20 home runs.
Can run the bases. He's a good
States.
player,
right? And Neil Walker has that left-handed stroke. He'll probably hit between 15 and 20 home runs playing in Yankee Stadium. He's a switch hitter. He can also go in and give our friend Bird a rest every once in a while so that he doesn't get, and he's also a good backup insurance policy for the Yankees in case Bird gets hurt. Now, my question is what's going to happen with Adam Lind? I guess he probably has no place to play on this team.
On the Yankees?
Yeah, well, they picked him up as a backup first baseman.
Well, that's okay.
And DH,
I mean,
so he's.
I think Greg Bird's the whole.
He is.
He's the whole key to the success for the Yankees. If Greg Bird doesn't get hurt and hits 25 home runs, Yankees are going to win. Yeah, they're going to win between
around 95 games.
I think it'll be well over 100. If Greg Bird hits 25 bombs, I think you're thinking between.
I'm just being conservative. I don't ever say that he's going to win 100 games because a lot of things can happen.
Agreed.
But they could. But
I'll say it though. I have no stake.
I don't want to be too. I don't want to be too cocky.
The Yankees.
I don't want to be too cocky about the Yankees because again, I think they're going to be a highly competitive team.
If Greg Bird hits 270 with 25 home runs, this team could win between 100 and 110 games.
That I agree with. If he's out there for 100 and
Because I think Judge is about to go off. 65 bombs for Judge this year.
Judge has been hitting the ball since he started playing again in the exhibition season. And did you see that home run Stanton hit off of Harvey on Saturday? Do you happen to get a gander of it?
Matt Harvey.
I know, but boy, did he take.
What a joke.
That
guy stinks.
He hit one about 480 feet though.
And Giancarlo, he's going to do that 40 times.
Yeah, and he hits
Gary Sanchez is going to do it 35 times.
He hits a lot of home runs to right field.
He hits a lot of home runs to all the fields.
Yeah, he does.
He's a beast.
I didn't realize how many home runs he hits to center and right. That's pretty impressive. Sanchez is probably the best hitter on the team, though.
As far as average goes?
Yeah, well, as far as just the toughest guy to get out because they're most careful with him because he's really a good average hitter, too. I mean, he's capable of hitting 300. He is that good.
I think he would hit 300 if they DH'd him more.
Well, they probably will. They'll give him his DH opportunities. I mean, Stanton has been playing a lot of left field. As a matter of fact, I know he's playing left field tonight, and he's going to DH tomorrow. They're giving him chances to play left field, and that's a good thing because when they play the National League teams, they're not going to want to take his bat out of the lineup as a DH. So you definitely want to have him and Judge in the game. So I mean, losing Gardner or Aaron Hicks. Or having one of them on the bench is certainly not going to kill the team. I would think probably the one on the bench in that particular instance would be Gardner, and I would think Hicks would be in center field because Hicks is an outfielder with that arm in center field is quite good.
That's quite a dynamic player on the bench in Brett Gardner.
Well, he'd come in probably in the 7th, 8th inning to run for somebody and then play left field. You know,
it's a good problem.
That's if you're playing in the National League.
Now the Phillies,
on the road.
the Yankees were in the ALCS last year. They're also breaking in a new manager.
Yeah,
what
Boone.
are your impressions of Aaron Bleeping Boone, as he's referred to in Boston?
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing that was not good and did not sit well with me on Saturday, and I know it's a exhibition game, Rob. I understand that, but you know, the Yankees, Dellin Betances had pitched an inning, okay? You know, he gave you his usual inning. And he was not supposed to pitch. He had pitched the 7th inning. He was not supposed to pitch the 8th inning. And Boone forgot to warm up.
Are we really grinding it out?
Boone forgot to get a pitcher up. So Betances ended up having to go out for the 8th inning and pitch to the first batter. All of a sudden, Boone realized he didn't warm up somebody. So he got somebody loose in the bullpen while Betances was pitching to the next guy in the 8th inning. So, I mean, Aaron, I hope you're paying attention that doesn't happen during the season. Cause,
all right, so what? They'll win 99 games instead of 100 if that happens.
I mean, I know it's nitpicking, but that would be a little disconcerting to see your manager pull a rock like that. But, I mean, I know it's an exhibition game and it doesn't matter. And none of these games really matter all that much. But you gotta like, if you're a Yankee fan, you gotta like what you've seen so far. They're hitting the ball. It seems the pitchers are pitching pretty well, and you know we go from there. We still have 3 weeks before the season starts, 2 weeks before the season starts.
April 2nd, I believe, is the first game.
I think the Yankees actually play March 28th, and I think they open in Toronto at the end of March. So it's like 2.5 weeks, something like that. I know my first home game that I'm going to be at is April 6th, so.
Who are they playing?
I want to say Baltimore.
You'll see Machado.
Yes. Well, you know, he could be the future third baseman for the Yankees. Who knows? You know, or he could be the future shortstop for the Yankees, or he could be the future shortstop for the Phillies. Who knows?
Oh, I hope. 2-2. Flyers in action tonight at the Wells Fargo Center.
Timmy Singleton says, no one is talking about my man Sanchez. I just finished.
Yeah, Brad was just saying I love Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, Gary Sanchez is a tremendous player.
Hopefully he
Timmy,
figures out.
He's my favorite Yankee, actually. And, you know, just because
You like Sanchez better than Judge?
Listen, he was the first one.
I'd be all in on Judge.
I love Judge too, but
Judge is a beast.
But
man.
Sanchez was, when they started calling up the kids, he was the first one, and those 20 home runs he hit in August and September a couple of years ago, it was amazing because the Yankees had gotten rid of all their good players, and then they go out and bring this kid up, and he basically carried him, and they almost made the wild. They missed the wild card by I think 3 games. After getting rid of Andrew Miller and Chapman,
They did make a run.
yeah, they did make a run, and that was shocking because, and honestly, if Betances wasn't so awful as the closer, they probably could have made the playoffs that year. But that's the way it goes. And it's revisionist history, but they were able to, basically get themselves rebuild their farm system. So looking back on it, was not a bad thing.
Flyers in action right now. They are at home against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Premier matchup. 2-2 with 5 minutes to go, Brad, after beating the Jets on Saturday.
Impressive.
Something you said was impossible.
Oh, I didn't say it was impossible.
Oh, you were.
I said that their schedule, they had an impossible schedule, and then they went and lost 5 in a row. So I wasn't.
They spit I thought they should have beat Boston. I think it was Thursday.
That was a bad loss.
Boston's a better team, but I thought the Flyers had them.
Yeah,
and
but
they gave it
just
up.
because they're a better team doesn't mean one night that they can't win a game. Though.
And then they played Crosby and the Penguins. I think
the Penguins
last Tuesday.
The Penguins outclassed them that game, and the Flyers. The Flyers were running around. I think they. You know what? I think the Flyers in that game. I think they showed their inexperience.
They were letting Sidney Crosby just skate into the zone with the puck the whole time. What are you doing?
Listen, they were running around that game. I mean, you can't do that. Another big game. Washington and Winnipeg are tied 2-2 in the third period with 9:58 to go. So the drama thickens as far as the Metropolitan Division goes. That's for sure. Let's see another game that's extremely important. The Florida Panthers came back on Ottawa, and it's now 2-2. And the Florida Panthers are a team to watch because if any of these teams go on a losing streak right now, the Florida Panthers are only I think 2 or 3 points behind the Blue Jackets, and they have 3 games in hand. And they've been charging like a bull. So that's a team that you really got to watch. And they are playing.
We go over this every week, Brad. Flyers, who are they going to play in the playoffs? Can they win a playoff round?
Depends if they win the division, they can.
No, don't tell me depends. Tell me what's going to happen.
Well, I don't think they're going to win the division, so therefore I don't think that they're going to win a playoff round. So, I mean, I don't see – they're not better than Tampa Bay. They're not
There you go.
They're not better than Tampa Bay. They're not better than Washington, and they're not better than Pittsburgh. And the only way you can win a series against some of these teams and upset a team in the playoffs if your goaltender is lights out in the playoffs. I don't know that they have a goaltender that's going to be lights out and can stop a better team.
Or you get Washington and you get in their heads and they choke.
You got to get ahead of them in the series though first. If you can somehow win one of those first 2 games in Washington in the when you're playing them, then you got a shot. But the way it's going right now, they probably will be playing Pittsburgh, and I know that they love to play Pittsburgh and this and that, but I don't think
I'm not a Flyers fan that wants to play Pittsburgh.
I don't think the Flyers are ready.
Keep Sidney Crosby away from the Wells Fargo
I don't think the
Center.
Flyers are ready for that challenge.
No, not at all.
And God forbid if they come in 4th or 5th, if they're a wild card team and they have to play Tampa Bay, they'll get killed. Tampa Bay is just
they have 100 points already. How many weeks
left?
Month left.
Yeah, and they just now that they have Miller and now McDonough is back playing for them again. I mean, the Rangers basically just kind of handed them the Stanley Cup.
I'm starting to smile a little bit because I can tell we're winding down hockey talk. We're getting to legal tampering.
Yes. The legal tampering, unfortunately.
How about your boy, Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah, well.
Been waiting all show to bring it up.
Yeah,
I was distracted by the Phil Yeah, that's why you booked Phil Martelli, so I wouldn't make funny about Odell Beckham.
No.
Doing cocaine, smoking marijuana, just being a bad kid.
Wait a minute. You're saying he was doing cocaine. Did you see a dollar bill in his nose?
He's buzzed up. Come on.
Did you see a dollar bill
Come
in
on,
his nose?
Brad.
Did you
He's
see?
buzzed up. He's
did you
zooted
see-
off his face.
Did he? Did
see
he?
his eyes?
Listen. Listen. Did he get arrested? No.
This is worse. In 2016, this is worse.
Well, I don't-
Instagram video, whatever it is. How many millions did he just cost himself?
Oh, that yes, I would agree.
Because he
with
watched
that.
his boy Mike Evans, who was drafted in the same class, get $55 million guaranteed. What Tampa's doing, giving him that money, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, but
he's
it's
not-
basically he's going to end up getting about 18-19 million a year if.
Odell
But-
Beckham?
Yeah, but
You think after this
Yeah.
doesn't affect it at all?
I think his advertising revenue is going to go down the tubes. But as far as being he's still one of the best receivers in the league, and this nonsense about
He's
the
coming
Giants
off-
trading him, it'll take them 10 years to find a receiver as good as him. They'll be looking for 10 years before they can get a receiver like him. So he's not going anywhere. They're going to try to talk some
Why
sense
would you
into
let
him.
someone videotape you? I mean, do what you want to do. Live the way you want to live.
I
get it. You're
I
in
don't
New
know how
York.
that-
You're
I don't know how that. First of all, I don't know
prior
how.
to 25, and then LeBron gets killed because he makes people give over their cell phones when he makes appearances.
Derek Jeter used to do that too. When Derek Jeter used to go
Sounds
on
smart.
dates. When Derek Jeter used to go on dates, everybody busted his chops about his his parting gifts for the girls
Yeah.
he used to go out with. But I think his one rule was that the girls were not allowed to bring a cell phone. So I guess he was pretty smart, and Odell Beckham's pretty
Sounds
dumb.
smart.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, nothing ever happened, and I'm sure he had his share of.
And when's LeBron ever been in trouble?
Never, because you know what?
Ever.
They're smart. Odell
He's
Beckham
been in the
did
spotlight
something-
since he's 16.
Odell
Never
Beckham
been in trouble.
did something that was really, really stupid.
He's always doing something stupid, though.
Well, you know what? They got to reel him.
I
in.
bet you he cost himself at least $10 million with this video.
for advertising revenue for sure. Nobody is going to.
He's not going to get it. He's not going to get an extension, $55 million guaranteed. He won't be higher paid than Mike Evans.
I don't know what he's going to get. Listen, this year I think is his last year, and then after this year, then
He wants to get paid though.
yeah.
Now.
Oh, I realize he wants to get paid now, but
There's
he's
no
not.
way he's showing up for camp. They're going to be a fucking train wreck again next year. It's going to be great.
Well,
It's going to be great.
Let me ask you a question. With the Bills going out and trading Tyrod Taylor to the
Yeah,
Cleveland
the Browns went nuts here.
Are the Browns now going to draft Barkley, or are they going to still draft Sam Darnold like everybody says they are?
I would
Do you
take
think that changed?
if I'm the Browns GM.
But you're not the Browns GM, because they keep saying and I keep watching NFL Network, because this is to me that those guys kind of are in the know. Everybody seems to say that Barkley, not Barkley.
As long as you're not watching fake ESPN.
No, I don't watch
Nonsense.
ESPN. I watch the NFL. I watch NFL because they actually have players who actually know what's going
Yeah,
on.
Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, they do a good job there with their draft,
I-
especially with their draft coverage.
I also
Charles Davis is good.
I also respect what's his name, the guy who's an advisor for the Jets. What's his name?
Oh, Casserly?
Charlie Casserly. Yeah, he knows. He said today that he thinks that the Browns are still going to get Darnold, and he actually thinks Darnold is the best quarterback in the draft.
I mean,
now
be that as it may, you got to take Barkley one. You have to.
Well, they're
you have a stopgap in Taylor, then you take your quarterback at 4.
Well, he said that
Or
they could
move
do
back a
well,
couple spots.
That he said that there's two ways they could go. They could either grab Barkley at 1, or get another quarterback at 4, but he thinks that the Browns are so desperate to make sure they make the right selection and get a real quarterback that they're probably going to go out and they're going to get the quarterback they want in the first spot. So be that as it may, I don't know where exactly they're going with this.
Are the Giants smart enough to take Barkley number 2?
Yeah, they would if he's available. If he's not available, they might trade down. I mean, I could see the way things are going. I could
That would
see them maybe trading down.
Piss me off if he's a Giant. A lot.
I don't know if he's
And
going
they
to
got
be
to
a
play
Giant.
Zeke and Barkley 4 times a year. Be a pain in the ass.
Well, that's again, we'll see. We don't really know. We don't really know what Cleveland's going to. Cleveland could end up trading their pick.
Nobody knows. It's Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. They're
I
not,
did like the Jarvis Landry trade a lot. Tyrod Taylor, I mean,
I don't like him at all. I don't like him at all. Listen, you know what? Tyrod Taylor has had his chance. He had Sammy Watkins and LaShawn
he went to the
McCoy.
playoffs last year.
Yeah, but it wasn't because of him. It was more because of McCoy.
I mean,
It was McCoy and
okay.
the defense. I mean, Tyrod Taylor just listen. If he was that good, why would Buffalo be so intent on trading him and getting rid of him? I mean, Buffalo wanted no part of him.
because that's where Nick Foles is going to end up.
That could happen. That could happen. I wonder if
Howie's going to get the 22nd pick off the Bills for him.
well, what do they have now? They have the 12th and the 22nd.
12th, 22nd. They have 2 2s and 2 3s.
Okay, so
They have 4 of the top 60 picks.
let me ask you a question. Do you think it's impossible that the Giants don't go and make a trade with the Bills and give them the second pick and then get the 12th and the 22nd?
I guess.
They could. I mean, they're talking about that because if the Giant
Who's Buffalo after? Rosen or Darnold or
well,
Mayfield? The quarterback, right? You don't move
they're
that.
talking about if Barkley is off the board, the Giants want to go down because they want to get an offensive lineman. That's what I've heard.
Solid logic. You just need a dance partner when you're trading.
Right, and they're thinking with the second pick they can get the 12th and the 22nd, and then they want Buffalo's first round pick next year. So they're thinking they can get 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick,
And then
for the second pick in the draft. Now, is that a bad trade?
No.
That's
the
what I'm
Bills
saying.
would ideally get their quarterback.
Right.
Theoretically, whoever they wanted. If
Giants
Barkley
would-
goes 1.
The Giants would go.
And the Giants will have the 12th pick and the 22nd pick
So they'll get their offensive
fill in.
linemen.
They can get 2 offense. They can get
Yeah, they can get themselves 2 offensive linemen that they desperately need, and try to build the team. I mean, but I would prefer that they get Barkley and try to sign Norwell or some of these other offensive linemen who are pretty good. They just cut Cromartie, which I thought was a very good move. They now have $20 million. They're now $20 million under.
I
the cap.
believe the term they use here at A2D Radio to describe players like DRC are crumbs. That's what I've gathered being here for
Yes. Well,
whatever, couple
he
months,
wasn't
6
a-
months, 8 months,
he
however
was
long
not.
it's been.
He was not a crumb with the Giants. I thought
Yes, he is. If you're a crumb, you're a crumb.
Well, he played pretty. I thought he played
He's
pretty well with
such
the
a
Giants.
douchebag.
He didn't play. Listen.
Oh my
he did
god,
not.
he's such a front runner
He didn't play well last year, and
because they sucked and he has no heart.
you have a point there. Because the first 2 years he was there, he played extremely.
He was such
well.
a mutt on the Eagles. He was such a mutt when they signed Namdi and they had that dream team thing. He didn't try a lick that season. It started going bad, and he crawled into a hole and didn't do anything.
Well, that's
He's
not
not
saying much.
professional. You can't win with him.
Well, they're not gonna be playing with him anymore. I'm just wondering about who they are going to select.
Well, if they have 2 first-round picks, they can take a corner.
They could do that. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they also are probably going to cut Brandon Marshall, so that would put them. They would then have 26
He's another
million.
one. He's another one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, they took a gamble on him.
Classic front runner. If
He
he's
got
getting
hurt.
all the targets and he's the number 1 guy, great.
Well, he got hurt last year, so I can't really blame
Who
him
didn't
too
see?
much.
Who didn't see that was going to be a disaster? I told you. I told you it was going to be a
Oh,
disaster.
you didn't
It
know
was
he's going to have a
stupid as
broken ankle. I mean,
I said it was a stupid signing, and I made fun of you for it.
I know you did. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But you know, they get a chance to reset this year. They'll get the extra $6 million, so they'll be around $26 million under the cap. Did you like the Ogletree trade? Because I thought that was a good trade
Yes.
for the Giants.
Yes, I did.
They finally got themselves a decent linebacker.
Well, the Rams, they're really moving and shaking out there in L.A.
They certainly are.
They got Marcus Peters, who, I mean, he's another one. He's of that DRC mold, it looks like. But
Yeah, but they're good. So he'll
Aqib
probably
Talib, they have Aqib Talib in him.
Talib was a real good pickup.
I don't understand, because Talib is an all-pro corner. He gets traded for a third-round pick. What's a first-round pick worth in these trades?
Well, that's why I'm
Who's
saying.
worth a first-round pick? And then
That's why I'm saying the Giants. If Buffalo comes to them and offers them the 12th, the 22nd, and their second-round pick, the Giants have to take that. Have to do that.
that's a lot. But, I mean,
Yeah, but if you want to get to the second pick in the draft, if you want your quarterback, if you're looking for your quarterback and you think that he's going to be at the second pick in the draft, the Giants don't need a quarterback. If Barkley's available in the second pick, I think the Giants will end up drafting him. I think if he's not available, I think they'll trade down and try to fill out their offensive line with the 12th pick and the 22nd pick. And that's probably sound strategy for them.
Now, getting to the Eagles.
They're about $10 million over right now.
They got some work to do. One player who will not be on the Eagles opening day is Nick Foles. He's not going to be here. Howie's trading him.
It's not going to solve. He's not going to solve your cap problem, though.
No, but they'll have it might. Vinny Curry's not going to be on the team either. That'll be a lot off the cap. I don't see how they keep Jason Peters either.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Peters.
Not unless he restructures. I want Jason Peters to restructure and play guard next to Vaitai. Play left guard.
See, I would want Jason Peters to be playing for the Giants and have them sign him as a free agent. That would definitely make me
it's fine.
happy as a tackle.
That's a risk, but
he's better than what they have.
Well, that's not saying much.
I know, but he's still a major upgrade.
Bradham's going to be gone. I don't think they've officially.
What about Patrick Robinson? What's the deal with him?
They say they're trying to extend him, which is fine. He was a great nickel corner.
They got to move some money around, though.
Well, Howie will figure it out. But Nick Foles is going to get traded, and Howie's going to get a first-round pick for Nick Foles. He's either going to get the 22nd pick from Buffalo, and then the elephant in the room that's just being buried by everyone. Drew Brees is not under contract for the New Orleans Saints. Nobody's taling about it.
Well, nobody's
He's not
talking
under
about,
contract.
Is anybody talking about the fact that the Minnesota Vikings are trying to steal him away?
No, nobody's talking. I mean, Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's a free agent.
I think
he can sign with anyone.
I think somebody needs
That's the dark horse when it comes to
to
Nick Foles. New Orleans Saints have the 27th overall pick. If they lose Drew Brees, Howie Roseman will get that 27th pick for Nick Foles. Book it. Write it down. So
that
I got
probably
the
a very
Bills.
good. That would be a very
excellent
good move
trade for everyone involved. New Orleans can get somebody, develop them for to have when Nick Foles is done.
See, Nick Foles on that
team. The Eagles will have 27 and 32. Nick Foles would be great on that team.
Yeah, I was going to say, on that team, he would be fine because, as I said before, in my opinion, and I think you agree with me, Nick Foles can definitely drive the Cadillac. I don't know about him driving the Volkswagen, but you put that offense in front of Nick Foles will be fine. I mean, will he be as good as Drew Brees? Probably not, but it's not like you're going down all that much.
And it seems like Kirk Cousins is either going to go to the Jets or the Vikings with the way he's talking.
I still think
that'll leave Denver without a quarterback. That'll leave Arizona without a quarterback.
I still think Cousins is going to end up with Minnesota. I mean, I know Minnesota's talking to Breeze.
That's quite a team. That'd be quite a team.
I'd be shocked. I would be shocked if Breeze went to Minnesota.
The Vikings are going to get either Breeze or Cousins.
Oh, I agree with you.
And
I agree
think
with you. And that would
I don't
lead to
I don't know what the Saints are doing. Like, how can you let him enter legal tampering not under contract?
I don't really understand.
I mean, this is
especially the way New Orleans, the offense came back against Minnesota in the fourth quarter of that game.
Right, and
Minnesota. I mean, it's
bullshit fluke play that they weren't in the NFC Championship game.
Right, exactly.
That'll never happen again. Like, Cam's never making that throw again in his life.
No, and it was a lucky play, and it was a lucky play that the cornerback completely screwed up that play.
I don't know what that young man was doing.
Yeah, what he should have done was just stay behind him, let him catch the ball, and then tackle him in bounds. Make sure he stays in bounds. They had no more timeouts. The game would have been over. That was one of the most clueless plays I've ever seen.
Chase Daniels, their backup.
Chase Daniels is not good.
So are the Saints really? Let's just say, for the sake of the Sports Hounds sports debate here, let's say that Drew Brees goes to the Vikings, Kirk Cousins goes to the Jets.
You know who I think would end up in New Orleans as a quarterback?
Nick Foles for the 27th pick.
Or they trade up and try to get Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield.
I think Mayfield would
I
be
mean-
perfect for that team. I think he'd be the right player for them.
I mean, I'm sure Tommy A would have his jersey. That's for sure.
I mean, there are certain teams I think that Mayfield would fit on. I mean, Drew Brees is not a tall player.
No,
You know what? I mean, Drew Brees is what 6'1", 6'2".
I think he's sub 6 foot.
I mean, he's one of the shortest quarterbacks in the history of the game that's been as successful as he is. I mean, if Mayfield can be successful, you put him on that team, I think he'd be pretty good. I mean, they have
He
a good
might,
offensive line.
They have the 27th pick in the draft.
They can move up.
They to make stuff happen. And from what I remember from last year's draft, obviously I'd have to look up where the Saints are actually picking. Is they moved up a significant amount to draft Alvin Kamara in the second round. Now, obviously, it's Alvin Kamara.
But I don't think they traded a first-round pick to do that, though.
It's gonna 27th pick doesn't hold a lot of.
No, that's true. That's true. But you
trade
wonder if
3 number 1s to get Baker Mayfield. Is that
No.
smart?
No.
He would have to be really good for that trade to be worth it.
Well,
I have
still
no
think-
idea. I have no idea what Baker Mayfield's going to be in the NFL.
I think
I have no clue.
he's the kind of guy I think he has to be with the right team.
I guess you can say that about every prospect in the whole draft, though. It's
I
not
like
really,
the guys I like Rosen. I think Rosen, no matter where he goes, he's going to be terrific. He looks like. I mean, they were breaking down. You know, I was watching.
I
NFL
agree with you.
Network.
I think he's the best.
I was watching
quarterback in the
NFL
draft.
Network, and they were showing some of the throws that Darnold made, and they were showing some of the throws that Rosen made, and they were comparing them to some of the throws Allen made and Mayfield made. Those two guys, and I know you've been tough on Darnold, but I'll tell you what, some of the throws Darnold's made, boy, oh boy, is he good.
He's a turnover waiting to happen.
Well, they said
He's Mark Sanchez
they said
2.0. Mark
his
my
problem-
words.
they
That guy
said-
stinks.
One of the guys today said that the reason he turns the ball over so much is because when he's holding the ball, he has his hands spread out too wide on the ball. He said that's something that you can teach a quarterback. Rosen, on the other hand, I mean, he's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how accurate that guy is and how he reads the
I love
field.
Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen, they were showing some plays that he made, Rob, where I mean, and this is something that pros do. He'd go back to throw, and he was baiting the safety to go cover the tight end, and then he fired a seam pass to a wide receiver. I mean, and he baited the safety, and as soon as the safety took one step towards the tight end, boom, seam pass to the wide receiver for a touchdown. And they were just saying those are the kind of things that top NFL quarterbacks do, and sometimes it takes them a couple of years to be able to do that, and this guy's already doing this in college.
I mean, I think
So,
Josh Rosen is the best quarterback in the draft. I don't think it's close.
They were saying that they're saying that both he and Darnold, as far as throwing the ball and being able to move around the pocket, are the two most talented quarterbacks. As far as Allen, they all liked Allen, but they just think as far as throwing the ball and pure accuracy, throwing the ball and being able to run, those two guys are head and shoulders above the rest of the pack. So I'm just going by what they were saying, and Casserly was also agreeing with that. Casserly actually likes Darnold better than he likes Rosen. He thinks that the turnover problem is based on the fingers being too spread out on the football, and that they can teach that.
If it were that easy, why didn't USC's coaches teach him?
Because the USC coaches,
It's that easy.
Because the USC coaches are not. They don't want him to leave USC. They don't want any of the crazy stuff to happen. They don't want to wreck him. In the NFL, it's going to be different because they have no choice but to listen to their coach. Because if they don't listen to their coach, they're not going to play. And they were basically kissing his butt too much. So remember, Darnold's only a sophomore. So I mean,
It's Mark Sanchez 2.0.
Yeah, but he's
Relatively no experience, like one season as a starter.
Sanchez
Mark
only,
Sanchez.
But Sanchez only played 5 games or something like that.
No, he started for a season.
Okay, but Darnold played 2 seasons actually. He played half of the first season and he played all of this season. Threw for a lot of yards, fumbled the ball too much. That was his big problem, and that's something
Either
that they're gonna have to
fumbled or
teach him.
threw a pick. A lot.
A lot of fumbles.
He threw a lot of picks too.
Yeah, he did. He had 20. I think he had 59 touchdown passes and 27 interceptions. Am I right about
Is
that?
that a career?
Yeah, for his
That's
career. I think that was.
Who is this?
Sam Darnold.
Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
I think 59
Frank's-
touchdown passes, 27 interceptions are the numbers that are coming into my head right now.
Let's see his
So-
entire career. Let's see.
That'd be pretty good if I'm right, because you know what? I don't have. I'm not
57
looking this up.
touchdowns, 22 interceptions.
Wrong.
I was close.
It was
Wrong.
close.
No, but you
57
were
and
wrong.
22.
57
wrong.
and 22.
Okay,
You're
so I said
wrong,
what?
though.
I say 57 and 29, or no, 59.
How
and
many of those
27.
interceptions were last year?
13.
That's it?
Yep. He threw 26 for 13. 26 touchdowns for 13 interceptions.
I don't like him. I don't trust him. Give me Rosen.
Oh, I agree
Give
with
me
you.
Barkley.
I agree with you.
I'm
Barkley,
not,
I love.
I'm not
Barkley.
hitching my wagon to Sam Darnold star at all.
I would.
I'll take Baker over Darnold.
Interesting. The one guy I didn't hear anything about, who I kind of liked, but I guess he's not considered a major pro prospect, is the guy that played for Ohio State, whose name, unfortunately,
Who, Braxton Miller?
no, the
JT Barrett.
JT
JT
Barrett. Thank you.
Braxton Miller. That was a couple years ago.
Yeah, no, JT Barrett. Boy, I really liked him. I thought he was a really good
He
quarterback.
can't throw the ball.
No, I guess he's not a NFL caliber. Doesn't have an NFL caliber arm. He was a good quarterback for Ohio State, though. Boy, oh boy. I mean, he could
Absolutely.
move the ball. He could definitely move the ball for them. That's for sure.
Getting back to the Eagles, I hope they re-sign Robinson. I really do.
He was good.
In
He
the
was good.
nickel.
I'm just a little.
And everyone thinks they're going to trade Darby of the surplus of corners. Not so sure. Everyone's boy with the green hair, Jalen Mills, is going to be on the team next year. Not so sure.
not
I
so
think
sure
he might
about-
be. I think Howie might deal him for a mid-round pick.
It's amazing how they were able to get Bennett, though. I just
And then they get Worley, who started on a playoff team last year for Torrey Smith,
yeah, Worley
clogging it up even more.
Yeah, but Michael Bennett, though. How the hell did they?
Michael Bennett.
How the hell did they get him?
They're
I mean,
clearly
Jesus.
going in a different direction
Effing
out there in
Christ.
Seattle.
Yeah, well, they're
Yeah.
they're
Marcus Johnson and a fifth-round pick.
yeah, they're
Deal with it.
obviously
He's
they're
going to play inside. He's going to play outside. They're going to line him up right next to Fletcher Cox sometimes.
they're going to as far as Seattle's concerned, Seattle is
Vinny Curry. See you later.
yeah, Seattle is taking the tank approach to the season. They're not going to be any factor at all next season.
I don't see how you can be in tank mode when you have Russell Wilson as your quarterback. I don't know what they're doing. They lost Richard Sherman to the Niners, but I think he's cooked anyway. He had surgery on both of his Achilles in
and
the end of the season.
Achilles are really bad.
Ruptured
injuries,
one,
too.
and he had some type of injury to the other one.
Yeah, and he
both
signed
his
it.
Achilles.
And he signed a 3-year deal. Well, then again, 3 years.
He didn't get much
How
money.
much guaranteed? How much guaranteed money did he get? though?
Not a, I mean, everyone kind of killed him for negotiating a bad contract. But
Okay.
what is he? I mean, first off, he's so cocky and just wants to be in the same.
He's such an ass.
But
he
he
really
would have
is. I
taken.
agree with you.
He would took less money to sign with the Niners, the Cardinals, or the Rams, just so he could play Seattle twice a year.
I think that's what he did.
Right. It's 100% what
Yeah.
he did.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I mean, whatever. And then they're fielding calls for Earl Thomas. I don't
Well,
know.
I like
I don't
Earl Thomas. I don't. I mean, I wish the Giants could get him. He would be. He's a
Yeah.
safety, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
boy,
there's
put him and Landon Collins out there. That would be pretty good. But I don't know that. I don't know that the Giants have. I think the Giants need too many players to be spending it all on a safety. You know,
I'll tell you what, that would change your defense if you had Landon Collins and Earl Thomas back there. Nigel Bradham, I think he's going to be gone. The Eagles are going to really need some linebackers.
Well, I mean, you know, the problem is when you win the Super Bowl, and this is
what happens.
This is what happens is, you know, a lot of these guys want to get paid, and you can't blame them.
Brandon Graham wants a new deal. Vinny Curry got paid. He's not going to be here. Patrick Robinson's going to get paid. Bradham's going to get paid.
Yeah, you can't. Unfortunately,
You're bringing in Bennett.
You can't.
Bennett has 1 year on his contract, and then he's going to want to get paid.
Well,
Jernigan, they paid Jernigan. They paid Jeffrey.
They paid Jeffrey. So, yeah, you're probably right about.
Ertz is locked in. He's extended. They needed. I'd like to see them sign a veteran receiver to go with Jeffrey.
But you know what? Their GM is, unfortunately, he's so smart. Unfortunately for the rest
he
of the league.
understands value.
He's so smart.
Bigly.
He's not going to just cut these guys. He's going to end up trading them because some of these guys are so good that other teams will find a way
It's going to be tough.
get them
It's going to be tough to trade that Curry contract.
That's a guy he may have to cut.
I
But
don't know what they're going to do with Jason Peters.
I think he's going to get cut.
I struggle to see how they keep Jason Peters when they're $10 million over the cap.
Yeah, I mean they're going to have to. They're going to have to move.
When do they have to get down below the cap? Before the draft?
Yes,
Is that right? I mean,
I believe. No, wait a minute.
Especially if
No,
they're,
they have to be below the cap. They have to be below the cap by Wednesday because Wednesday is when the new year starts.
okay,
So, because this is the tampering period starts today.
correct.
The fiscal new year for the NFL is Wednesday. So by the fiscal new year, you have to be at or below the cap. So they are going to have to either trade or get rid of somebody by the fiscal new year. That's why. So that's why they're still. That's why they haven't cut. That's why the Giants haven't cut Marshall yet because they're probably trying to figure out if they can trade him or not. Which they probably
nobody's
can't.
want that crumb.
No, I'm just giving you the information as I've heard it. Is that a lot of guys you'll see a lot
I
of
hope
guys
they can
getting
trade.
cut.
I hope they can trade Curry.
1:00 p.m. Wednesday is
They
when
got to be below the
they
cap.
have to be below the cap, I believe.
So he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but
they're
he
$10
will.
million over.
He will.
I don't understand where they're getting the money to potentially re-sign Robinson.
Because because Howie Roseman will find a way.
They'll just defer the money, or
You know what? He will probably go to one of his stars and he will probably hit them for a signing bonus and restructure their deal, which is what the Giants did 3 times with Eli Manning to make sure that they can keep some of these guys on the team. They kept doing this with Eli Manning. That's why he's still under contract this year for $21 million. Because it originally that contract that he signed, I think, was in 2007, and I think it was supposed to be over by 2014, but they restructured him 3 times, so that's why he's 37 and he's still on the Giants at $21 million. So I think what you're probably looking at is some of these guys who are making a lot of money. He might go to them and say, "Hey, look, can we redo your contract? I'll give you a couple of extra years. I'll give you some more guaranteed money out at the end, and maybe a signing bonus, something along those lines to try to work it out."
yeah, but that's such a trap to defer the money at the end because they'll just cut him before he has to pay him.
Yeah, well, listen, Rob. The problem is in the NFL. This is why it's so
This is
hard.
why
to
there's going to
stay-
be a huge strike in the NFL in this current CBA.
Yeah, because what
NFL
happens,
might be gone forever.
the problem is with the NFL is that and why it's so hard when you win the Super Bowls. 1, everybody wants to get paid. 2, because you're the Super Bowl champions, everybody automatically assumes that every player on your team is one of the best players in their position in the league, and that's not a wrong assumption. And the fact that you won a championship just makes you more valuable because now you've got the experience of winning a championship, and other teams figure you can bring that. So it makes it very hard to keep your players.
They got to get the best
and
offer.
every team who wins the Super Bowl goes through that. I mean, I think when the Giants won the last time the Giants won the Super Bowl, I think they ended up having to move Justin Tuck. I mean, it's just that's the way.
It's true.
They couldn't keep everybody. I mean, that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, but this is why you got to get the best offer for Nick Foles and ship him out.
But the problem is,
When
with
will Nick Foles
Nick Foles
is-
doesn't make any money. It's not. He's not. Gonna,
That's not the cap is a separate issue.
okay.
When is Nick Foles' value going to be higher than it is right now? He's a Super Bowl MVP. He outdueled Brady.
You can basically you have until the draft to do that.
His value will never be higher. Isn't that like basic economics?
Yeah, but you have till the draft to make that decision. That should not be a decision you're worrying about right now.
I understand.
Right now, what you're worrying about is
Some teams with pretty decent rosters are going to be left without a quarterback after this carousel goes around with these veterans.
right, and that's when
You might be able to take advantage of someone.
I would wait until after free agency, and whoever's left, who's ever left out in the cold, as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, those are the teams you go to with Nick Foles, and then you get their first round
He's
pick.
going to be on the Saints or the Bills, Foles. And how he's going to get a first round pick.
I agree with you. I agree with you more about the Bills than I do the Saints because I think the Saints will find a way to. I think the Saints will find a way to keep Drew Brees, and I think Minnesota.
Wouldn't
is
even
end up
if
with
they were
Cousins.
really gung ho about keeping Drew Brees. Don't you think it would have been done already?
I think they're playing chicken, but I think at the end, I think Nick Foles. I think Brees.
Well, they're about to be playing chicken
Well,
right into Chase Daniel being their quarterback next year on a team that's ready made to win the Super Bowl right now.
If that happens, well, if let's say Minnesota does sign.
Cousins?
Let's say they sign Cousins. Or no, let's say Minnesota signs Brees.
Yeah.
Why can't New Orleans sign Cousins?
They could. It's a good point. Anyway, that'll do it. 10 o'clock here. Sports Hounds will be back with you next Monday, 8 to 10. Maybe we'll have another guest in store. But until then, we'll see you next time.